Dr. Barbara Jatta, it is a pleasure to meet you and thank you for doing this interview.
My pleasure.
In the Vatican Museums, you have over 200,000 pieces, 7 miles of corridors and hallways. What is it like to be in charge of all of this?
I feel blessed. I feel blessed and privileged. It's almost 7 years that I'm here, and really blessing and privilege. Every day I enter in this wonderful place.
And I know you don't like talking about this,
Okay.
but 7 years ago when Pope Francis appointed you as director, it made headlines here because you were the first ever woman to hold the role. How did you feel about that, and how do you still feel about it today?
I must say that at the beginning, everybody was emphasizing this aspect, and I was minimizing it because I thought it was, of course, I always felt insecure. I was working for 20 years in the Vatican Library, so I didn't really never expecting. I was an art historian in a librarian world, but I never expected to be appointed. And then little by little, I tell you when and why I changed my mind, and I emphasized and I understood the importance of my role in a gender way. When once after 2 years I was in Mexico City, I was lecturing in university, and after my conference, 2 girls came to me, 2 students came to me, and they said to me, I want to shake your hands, I want to know you, because for us, you are an example. You are a mother, a woman, a wife, but you also follow your passion, and you have an apical role in probably the best museum in the world. And there I said, oh, I can be an example for young students, for young girls. And so that's how I realized the importance of my appointment and the incredible and amazing choice that Pope Francis made for me.
You saw how it could inspire other young women around the world.
Exactly.
Because many people say that the Vatican is a man's club, not a place for women in leadership. Do you find that that is changing under Pope Francis? Is the Vatican becoming a place that is more open to women in positions of leadership?
100% yes. When 28 years ago, I was appointed I was hired in the Vatican Library. I was the 3rd woman to work in the Vatican Library. And when I left the Vatican Library 20 years after, half of the staff was already women. Since my appointment, I can tell you, even in the library, in the Vatican Library, even in other dicasteries, Vatican dicasteries, the Vatican institutions, women surge to apical positions. Not apical because of the career, but because they have responsibilities. I was now with our General Secretary of the Governorate of the Vatican City-State, and she's a nun and she's a woman. She's younger than me, she's 10 years younger than me, and she's amazing. She's Suor Raffaella Petrini, and she's incredible, and she was appointed 2 years ago.
So you see things changing?
Absolutely.
When Pope Francis appointed you, did he say anything special to you or specifically about why you were chosen?
No, not really. Not really. When I saw him recently, a year ago, with my reappointment, because I was reappointed for another term,
yes.
He said to me, women are more organized. And he said, he mentioned something about the genius of ladies. And I found it very nice because he said it in such a marvelous way that I will never forget.
Now, we mentioned there are just over 200,000 pieces in the Vatican Museums, but only a percentage is on display. A lot of the collection is hidden or left in storage. How do you decide what is displayed to the public?
Alors, of course, if we look at the percentage of what is on display and what is in the deposit is amazing. Certain collections have only the 1% on display, so we tend to show, and we tend to rotate some collections to show them better.
And one of the great challenges for you, I know, is that you not only have to preserve, maintain the incredible art, but you also have to display it and share it with the world. Is that a difficult balancing act when you're trying to do the two at the same time simultaneously?
No, I don't think so. It's part of our mission. If you see all the editti, all the laws and juridical statement that popes during the century made on preservation, on maintenance of art objects, from Raphael ongoing, there are every 50 years you have a pope or you have a juridical statement to testify this aspect. And then the share is the other immense component of our mission. And thanks God we are nearly back to what was a pre-pandemia.
Because pre-pandemic you were 7 million visitors
Yes.
a year. Do you project for 2023 it will be the same?
Difficult to say, but we closed 2019 with almost 7 million visitors, and the numbers of these last 2 months were much more than 2019, January and February, so we'll see.
Was that a devastating blow for the museums to be closed for that period of time? I mean, I don't just mean financially, because well, the money's so important as well for the restoration work, but to have them closed to the public for so long, was that difficult?
The fact that they were closed and to reorganize a life of almost 1,000 people, that from one day to the other, I must tell you, we were coming here, only few of us, myself, the secretary, and a few guards that were checking in the really lockdown time, checking all around the 7 miles of the museum. How can you close as an apartment a museum like this one? And so the checking was daily, made by few guards that were going around, and it was like a ghost city, empty. You didn't see anybody going around, and even the museum was magic, but even scaring. So empty, so quiet.
Scary to see what could happen. And even the financial loss from having the museums closed, because I remember hearing you say once that even the cost of dusting, something simple like wiping the dust off the statues and the artifacts, is over 300,000 euros per year.
In a different way from other museums worldwide, from national museums like the Louvre or the British Museum, we live of our ticketing. We are not supported by the state. Of course, we contribute to the life of the Vatican City-State. We are part of the governorate of the Vatican City-State, so we are supporting with our incomes. And can you believe when the income immediately went down, and the lockdown and the reopening were going back and forth? It was a tough time, because of course the issue was also, of course, Pope Francis told us to pay the salary to all the families.
So no money coming in, but the money's still going out.
Exactly. So I remember after almost a year of opening and closing, but of course when we were open,
no tourists,
or very few Roman tourists or Lazio tourists, because there were problem of regions, so you kind move from one region to another, and so it was really difficult. And after a year, we started to really be scared. People around were talking about selling our objects to survive, and I mean,
that was in the paper that people were saying over 100 million had been lost, or 200 million, or something like that, and they were saying, what are they going to do to make it up? Will they have to sell the art? Unbelievable.
but miracle arrives, and little by little we start again, and the numbers of today are very satisfying. And even we were talking about before about the sharing. The sharing is not only about the reception of thousands of visitors every day, but the sharing is also through the web. You can now have, of course, virtual tours of many of our galleries, but also we have a specific catalog of all our displayed objects that you can study each statue in a deeply way. A lot of things were done.
Let me ask you as well about Vatican diplomacy, because this is a fascinating part of the Vatican Museums that most people don't really know about, and that is the items or artifacts within the Vatican Museums being used as a way to build relations between the Holy See, the Vatican, and other nations around the world and groups. Like, I know pieces from the Vatican Museums have been sent, for example, to China before, and last year I saw them in the United Arab Emirates at the Vatican Expo. What kind of results do you get from that, using pieces from the museum to build relations?
Allora, of course, we are a global museum in a way. It's a very different museum from global museum, but we have relationship with all the major museums and even the little museums run worldwide. And so we have exchanged for exhibition, or we organize exhibitions.
And the Vatican sees this as a way of teaching people and communicating with people of different races and nations about the tradition and the beauty of the Catholic faith. So maybe where the spoken word is falling down or diplomacy is not working too well, at least the connection can be made through art and the beauty of it.
Beh, la via pulchritudinis is a language that everybody can understand. Beauty is not related to any gender, to all genders, or to all the people that have a soul and can really understand. Everybody can understand the beauty.
I think it was Pope Benedict XVI said that it was the saints and art that are the greatest apologetics when it comes to our faith.
Saint Paul VI said a wonderful thing, that the artists are prophets and poets.
Finally, Dr. Barbara Jatta, 7 years you've been here at the Vatican Museums through incredible times. What are you looking forward to in the future?
We are expecting the Grand Jubilee of 2025, so we are already working on that. We are expecting more and more visitors, more and more pilgrims and we would like to welcome well, not only by presenting more and more galleries open to them, but also think of how we can really communicate and share this incredible patrimony, that is not only a patrimony of art, not only a patrimony of history, but is also a strongly patrimony of faith.
Dr. Barbara Jatta, thank you very much.
Thank you.